In this video, we shall be learning about SQL and Python connectivity. Now, SQL, as we already know, is structured query language and it is used to communicate with different databases like MySQL Database, Oracle Database, or Microsoft SQL Database, right? And there are NoSQL commands as well, NoSQL language as well. But in this video, in this particular series, as we are learning with SQL, I will show you how to connect SQL from a Python code, how to extract data from Python code, and then do your analysis, then do your EDA work. I will also show you how SQL databases can be connected from Power BI as well, which is of course not a part of the SQL series, but I'm just showing you the ways how you can connect to a SQL database. So coming back to the SQL Python connectivity, so just imagine when you are working on Python, you are mostly what we do is we usually get flat files, read it using pandas library or using the traditional programming codes, and then read the file and then do our analysis, right? How can we connect to a SQL database and then extract data from that database and then do our analysis? Of course, to use SQL, to call SQL databases using SQL from Python, you need a connector, a Python connector which can connect to the SQL databases. Similarly, there are multiple connectors in the world. If you start googling out, you will find a tons of connectors, tons of libraries which are already present. I will talk about one of them. I'll show you how to build a connection using pymysql. Now, pymysql is a package which contains pure Python MySQL client library based on PP249 protocol. And how to install this library? Very simple. You have to install pip install pymysql. I'm not sure if you know Python or not, but in case you don't know Python, probably you'll have to learn more about Python. But if you know Python, if you have Python installed in your machines, then you can easily open your Anaconda prompt or open your Python IDE and then run your pip install commands. So pip install pymysql. As I already have this library, so for me it is showing that the requirement is already satisfied. So what I will do is I already have some details with me. Let me just quickly open the file. So for this particular video, I'm using Jupyter Notebook. Again, it's one of the IDEs for Python. In case you have Spider, you have PyCharm, it's completely okay. So I already have a data set like this, something like this. This data set, we will be uploading the data to our MySQL database and then we will be creating connections. Okay, so let's start our importing process. Here I will create a new query tab, and in this query tab I will be creating a new database. Create database. Let's say I will give breast cancer DB. Okay, simple. My database is created. Use breast cancer DB. So I'm using this database for this activity. I'll refresh. My database is ready. In the tables, I'll right click and do a table data import wizard. Here I will pass my input file, which is breast cancer data. I will click on next. Here I will click on breast cancer. Table name is breast cancer, and then next, and my data will be ready in couple of seconds. My data is ready. You can see just in 2 seconds my records are imported. Finish, and then I will again refresh the tables, and you can see I'm able to get the table which is breast cancer. So let me just close this one. I will use the same. As we are already using this database, I don't need this alias. So if I run this, I'm able to get the data. I have mean radius, mean texture, mean perimeter, mean area, mean smoothness, and I have a column called as diagnosis. So let's say, what is diagnosis? Diagnosis means one would be 1 basically means the customer is having cancer, and 0 means the patient is non-cancerous. Okay, so if I do diagnosis count star group by diagnosis, and then if I run this, you can see 357 patients have cancer and 212 have no cancer. Now I will be using this data, using this table from Python. I will see how can we connect this database from Python, extract the data, and then do some of our AD analysis. So again, I'll move back to my Jupyter notebook. I already have the codes ready. I will just give you a walkthrough of the code. I'm importing all these libraries: pandas, seaborn, plotly. Pandas is a basic, for data analysis we use pandas. Seaborn is a visualization library. Plotly is again a visualization library. NumPy is numerical Python. Any kind of activities we use NumPy. Plotly again is the same, math to do some mathematical operations. And here I'm importing my pymysql. In case you want to install your pymysql from Jupyter notebook, you can also do like this. In case you don't want to use your Anaconda prompt, here I already have it, so it says requirement already satisfied. So I will install these libraries, like import all these libraries, and then here you can see I am calling my pymysql and I'm calling .connect. So .connect means I want to connect some database. pymysql .connect. So if I just keep it in a separate line, it's asking me what is the host. As this is my local machine, this is a local host. In case you are connecting to a server, you have to put the host of that particular server. Username, the username of your server. Password of your server, and which database are you connecting to. So here our database is breast cancer DB, so I will be using the same breast cancer DB. If I run this, okay, it is because of the syntax error. I will take it back to the front line and my connection is ready. If I read my connection, dbcon, it says this is a pymysql connection .connection. So the connection is created. I will not be able to see the connection, but there are ways how to use this connection to get data. Simple. Connection is built. Anything, if there is a failure in connecting, you will get your error message in this line itself. So one of the example for loading the data from MySQL. Now here you can see I'm simply using a query. So let's say I'm using this query. Okay, breast cancer data. So breast cancer. Okay, this is my query. Only for diagnosis equals to 1, I'm getting the records. What is the count? Somewhere around 200 something, right? Or 300 something. Okay, 357 records. Similarly, what I'm doing is I'm doing pandas.read SQL query. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to the pandas documentation to learn more about this particular method. Pandas.read SQL query returns a data frame. So it read a SQL query into a data frame. So what it is doing is using your connection, it is getting the data from a table of your SQL database and converging that into a pandas data frame, right? In case you are new to pandas, I will recommend you to go through the Python course and then understand more about pandas, NumPy, matplotlib, seaborn and all those things, and then get started with it. So it returns a data frame corresponding to the result set of the query string. Optionally, provide an index call parameter to use one of the columns as the index. Otherwise, default integer will be used. So moving back to the code, here I'm calling pandas.read SQL query. Inside that, I'm simply passing my query, which data I want to use, what is the connection, and parse dates equals to true. That means if there is a date column, then it has to parse it correctly. Then if you run this, okay, there is some error because my table name is not breast cancer data, it is breast cancer. So I rerun it, and this is how my data looks like. Simple. Now similarly I am doing for all the records. So here what I'm doing is I'm defining a method called as diagnosis equals to 0. I'm defining a variable, and here I'm passing diagnosis equals to plus diagnosis. If you want to analyze this statement, this is very simple. Here what I'm doing is I'm calling the select star from this where diagnosis equals to, I'm passing this variable, right? So here I'm passing 0 instead of breast cancer data. I will use breast cancer, then run it, and this is my data for diagnosis equals to 0, right? Similarly for diagnosis equals to 1, if I want to pass diagnosis equals to 1, and then I run this, and then I get my data. And similarly loading the data for EDA. So I want to read the entire data, which is my entire breast cancer data. Let's say I'm going to use it, and then the entire right side of the query, I'm using a variable to convert the data into a data frame. So if I do this, my data frame is ready. Now how do my data frame looks like? df.head, I can see my data. Simply, if you want to do further activities, df.info, it will show you all the information about various parameters. df.describe, it will give you all your statistical information, and then it's basically your EDA steps, what you do in terms of Python, right? All your bivariate analysis, univariate analysis. You need to understand what are your categorical features, what are your numerical features, what is the relationship between multiple things, and all your basic EDA work, right? I'm not going to explain those things in this video because here I'm just concerned about how do we read the SQL data to Python, and then how to perform EDA. You can get knowledge from the Python classes, from the Python videos. Okay, and I'm doing some random activities. Shape is null, info, describe, plotting some graphs. If I just minimize it, I'm plotting my diagnosis column, so 0 and 1, plotting my pair plots, and plotting some of my other pie charts. So let the pair plot be ready, pair plots now, and all these things. So the basic idea of this video is to help us connect to the databases. Similarly, I have just done some EDA and then did some random model tuning and all those things, model training. So if you are well versed with machine learning, then you can easily use this code and easily understand how do we, read data from your SQL databases and then do EDA and then prepare our models. But in case, now it's up to you, reading multiple tables, PyMySQL Connect, all these things. So here you can see, what is this query? Use classic models. Classic models. So classic models, let's say you are analyzing two tables called as products and product lines, right? So there are multiple ways to read these tables. You can either do select star from products, which gives you like this, and do select star from product lines, which gives you like this. So either you read these two different tables in two different data frames using two different connections. No, not two different connections, but two different queries. For an example, let's say you are reading this connection, simple, and you are reading select star from products, simple. So how does your product looks like? Your product looks like simple. And then you are doing another activity, like you are creating another table, product lines, simple. And then you are doing df2.head, and then you know that you are analyzing these two tables by combining and doing some join operations. You know what is the common thing here? The common thing is product line, right? Product line is common feature. Yeah, product line is common. And if you want to converge this data, you can simply do your merge activities. pt.merge df1 df2 on equals to product line how equals to inner. That means you are doing an inner join, and this is your final df. Let me name it as final df, and then your final df is ready, and then this is how your final df looks like, right? Similarly, you can do it using multiple things, or else you can build your query here itself. Let's say you are doing p.star pl.star from products p product lines pl, where p dot product line equals to pl dot product line, and then simple. You can also use these queries. It's up to you how you deal with it, right? Similarly, the main, here I have used this query. And then if I run this is the query, right? So the main idea is here, you can easily call your final query the final joined query, or else you can read multiple queries and then do your activities like merge activities, right? So this is all about SQL and Python connectivity. Our next topic is a very short topic on how to connect SQL databases from Power BI. Of course, this will be taught in depth in the Power BI part, but let's jump into Power BI, and then I will show you how can we connect data from Power BI, from SQL databases to Power BI. I hope everybody knows how to read an Excel file in Power BI. In case you don't know anything about Power BI, go through the Power BI classes. In case you already know, then you can easily understand that to read Power BI, you have to easily, let's say you are using an Excel sheet to read the data, right? And once you read it, you will be able to see the fields here. Similarly, how do we deal with SQL databases? Go to get data, go to more, go to MySQL, click on MySQL Database, because we are dealing with MySQL. In case you are using Oracle SQL, you can easily search for Oracle. Do we also have MS SQL? Okay, MS SQL is also there. Like SQL is basically MS SQL. We also have Azure SQL database. A lot of data sources are there in Power BI. So let's say I'm dealing with MySQL. I'll click on this. Here it will be asking you the same thing which we were doing in Python, right? If I go to the top part, we were using host, username and root. Simply, I will copy paste my host. I'll pass my username, I will pass my database, and username and password, it will ask you for the first time, and then you can save it. My username is already saved, so it will not ask. And if I click on OK, I will be able to see a widget where all the tables will be visible in that particular database. Let's say you're using this database, you can click on it and load it, and then your data is already a part of your Power BI. Now you can easily build your activities, whatever you want to build. Something like that. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but yeah. Let's say you're doing a scatter plot on, not on this and this and this. Right? And then you can do your further activities. But I hope everybody knows and everybody is clear about the connectivity part. Okay, so that's it about the SQL Power BI and SQL Python connectivity. I hope you had a wonderful class. You had a wonderful session on SQL. I am pretty much sure you gained some knowledge in SQL. So try hard, practice more and more join statements and all those things. and you are good to go for the interviews. Thank you.